What's up? Day 19 semen retention. Your crippling nervousness will destroy your natural connection to a woman. I always knew that it was natural for a man and a woman to be together. And nervousness is natural too. But I think you can step to a level where it's not natural anymore. Cause I always remember when I was younger, yeah, I got minimally nervous about things, but it wasn't like it's like you barely noticed it. You get what I'm saying? It's just something that you felt and then got past. I think when you get older and you start to develop habits that can create, you know, um, like bad energy and stuff, it make you feel like overwhelmingly nervous. I think that's the type of nervousness you get, and it stay on you, and it's hard to kind of be regular and be natural. And I've always noticed with every dynamic I had with a girl, not every single one, but a lot of them, it was like halted or it was like damaged because I was so nervous. You get what I'm saying? And if I really look back at it, there was never anything ever to be nervous about. Nobody was about to shoot me or bite me or nothing scary was about to happen to me. These mosquitoes out here. Nothing scary was about to happen to me. You get what I'm saying? And so I just had to really look at it, and it's like it's certain things you can do that can give you an overwhelming uh feeling of nervousness, shyness, just feelings where you can't operate naturally. And that's how it cripples you. Like it just damages you to where you can't do it normal. You can't do the stuff you would be able to do normally and function normally. It makes it so much harder to do. And just as I get older, I'm starting to understand that nervousness shouldn't be something that ever overwhelm you. It should be a little small, natural feeling that you get with certain things. It's nothing that should overwhelm you. Because I remember when I was like in middle school and stuff, I used to get nervous, but I used to could still. Because I remember I used to try to talk to girls when I was in middle school, and I was never nervous. I was nervous, but I wasn't like scarily nervous, like I wasn't like it wasn't doing nothing to me. It was just like I felt it, but I still did it anyways, and it really didn't feel bad. And so I was much more prone to just do stuff, regardless of how I felt back then. And that was before I had any problems with like masturbation or watching the websites and all that type of stuff. But the older I get, I'm just starting to realize that you have to clean up how you act on a daily basis, even if it's just you being on your own and stuff. You got to clean up how you act, because that creates energy, and it can stick on to you when you're doing stuff that's taking care of yourself and you doing everything you're supposed to do. Everything as a human being is gonna come natural. Your relationships and dynamics with women or even with just friends, everything is gonna come more natural when it comes to just connecting with people. You know, but crippling nervousness. That's what's gonna mainly crippling nervousness comes from, what I'm saying, bad habits. It don't come from, it's not natural. It's not natural. And it was definitely, I don't know about anybody else, but I know a lot of guys, it mainly come from your habits, and my personal experience, that's what it came from. Because before I had really any bad habits, it was a natural feeling. It was never a thing where it overwhelmed me. When I started getting, into masturbation and watching the websites, it got to a place where it was so strong that I couldn't even operate regularly, and that's why I feel like I had so many embarrassing or emasculating experiences with a lot of girls, or you know just making me feel like I'm not man enough with a lot of stuff. And because that's the thing, like with social anxiety or nervousness or shyness, those are things that people are going to recognize with a weak man, not a strong man, right? And even though I still wouldn't call myself weak, I definitely had moments like that. But I feel like that's gonna build character. That's gonna make me even stronger. And it's really weird with me, because it's certain moments where I'm not that way, but then I get that way. But with me being on day 19 simmer retention, I definitely feel more like everything comes a little bit more natural, even when it comes to just hanging around with people or talking to a girl or anything like that. And it's not that you just don't have nervousness at all. It's just that the nervousness is minimalized to where it's like a normal functioning nervousness. It don't tap into an overwhelming sense of nervousness. Because the way I look at it with me being on day 19, all the other times when I was on them smaller streaks, I barely could feel any type of feeling, because the streak wasn't long enough for me to even really get benefits. You get what I'm saying? And so I always stayed in that constant state of nervousness and constantly fighting against it, trying to break out of it. But even with me being on day 19, I feel like I still got a long way to go before I feel like my complete old self again. But I'll be in a better place because I'm still gaining knowledge. I'm still me. But it's just you get damaged when it comes to, how you interact with people. And so just the more I look at that, the more I understand that you gotta protect the things that are supposed to come natural to you. When you start to damage stuff that comes natural to you, that's when you start developing dysfunctional relationships with people, dysfunctional relationships with yourself, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And that's what's gonna make life 10 times harder. That's gonna make you depressed, because the stuff that should be normal and natural that you see everybody else can do, but you can't. And it's not rocket science, it's nothing hard. You know, that's where, stuff just start to feel really, really bad because you know something wrong. You know what I'm saying? You know something wrong whenever, you have that. Because I remember I've seen many other dudes talk about that same experience. Like when they was younger, they didn't feel it didn't feel the same way as when they got grown up. And I think that's largely due to a lot of times people who can't control their sexual energy when they're growing up as a kid or whatever. Which, it's important to tell kids that they need to control that. Because, if you're a kid, you might just stumble upon it like I did. But but yeah, man, that's why we gotta tell, the younger generation too. Because they won't go into as many problems, and they'll be able to be more natural and be more of their self, because really when you control your sexual energy, you're controlling your ability to stay being yourself and stay natural with things. And so that's a big part of life, being able to have things the most naturalist type of way, when it comes to your interactions, when it comes to doing certain things, it's important to keep things natural, because that's where it be the healthiest, that's where it be the strongest, that's where it just be the best. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say, man. Peace out.